ayano krese heavy ho adachi akwama bia no a Christopher ahotefo anase esoma wodoma ahotefo ebenya de akwakodi ho anase edin ena enso ni ho ese nipa da sani ebetu akwiem ene onyankropon akwatena democracy eyema bibifo anase enyeyen kwasi broni trim popa ene sentia wode vaccination eba abibiman mu na family plan so mpo no enhye ben ana kwasi broni hyehyeye e wodi krom entia wode eto ayen eba ne sen ana gay ati atese e wiase afana nyinara ene wese illuminati ene wese freemason ene wese sumwe mu ni nyinara ahyase frihin no broni trim po a wode sanyema we nyinara eba no de ato abibiman mu ene sen we entram so hwe wake up Africa kwasi da we ni kwasiada bia awia dumienu ekopim awia no mienu live on Royal TV eya dwumadi a ofa poku danko ye executive director edema free the mind movement ofa Israel Nkroma aye coordinator edema free the mind movement no ebeka me Kofi Kumi ho na yesim konya na madi dwumadi e wo chiame na ensem bia tise no ye gina twekronkron so abakosem ene ntwere ahodro so na edia mo hu ba bia obibini ufri enu mu a edro ene soma wo sombo na mabrofo sisi a che ebra so se call together twele kan no etumi bam ne no ana hyase o free the mind movement dwumadi e friend say wake up Africa dwumadi so praso say ye fa dwumadi live on Royal TV so kwasiada we ni kwasiada bia awia dumienu kopim no mienu na ya jo so adwenche na wasemisa ye ano edi ama wake up Africa abibiman moma yen sore
one business general abatown ayeniko multimedia self-pay video editing photo shoot photo editing documentary business advert music video funeral program birthday parties onua uni haukra esan se niko multimedia ebeye ni nyina na so yenwie yo se wo ye wedding papa bi multimedia si en ha ho kra o me cover ni nyina ma se wo ye asori anaso se wo ye edwumakuo bi a wo pese wo streaming live o program aye social media handles na aye Twitter Facebook and the keka ho na niko multimedia si woni how esan so mo ye ni nyina live abra program na ekoso niko multimedia si omotonton gadget aye media gadget papa ebini aye audio and video cameras speakers microphones mixers nyina niko multimedia aye ho adwuma niko multimedia ewo koforidia eho ana motare betimi afre niko multimedia ewo 0244549107 aye niko multimedia the media general ewo town. Thank you.
Sikoni wa matia sai okroto wa matia sai amuna oba ye kromse oba betre ya mesu etre no to nipa etre no dia sanse akwanu mana dia sanse
this enenso so bio e kwasiada bio a obo ade e de acheyen na onim se kwasiada bia eduse ya na eyedwumadie bi nti na osomfo Kofi Kumi aya na magimagwa se ya na Royal Television so na ya magimagwa yi enam eyedwumadie ya to ne din se Wake Up Africa na Wake Up Africa dwumadie kwasiada bia ene yedi no premotope akese dwumadie ahyase na beni ya mene mpanyifo yenu bi na ya mene omudi dwuma kwasiada biara aye wofa ya opoku dankwa a oye executive director edema eku efren free the mind movement ona ne ba Israel Nkroma a ono so ye national coordinator edema eku efren free the mind movement sampanyifo mienu we na ya kwasiada biara mene omudi sa dwuma di ena de masramo se mo fanche na ena de mene wofa ya opoku dankwa a oye executive director edema eku efren free the mind movement no ono kwa na mene ebedi dwuma isanse aye yewura Israel ene dwumadie bi nti akopie mu obabi foforo a odi dwuma foforo de aboa eye dwumadie ya enti enti maka ne sa no na gese Israel fans mo hwe Israel nimbia no ene de mo fa nche yen dwumadie bi edina akopie mu ewo baabi kwase da bia du a ne yetena sese ya kobama so na nsema ewo ho no ye pie ne monim se bama no so a yatena no eye jesuits ho sensem na jesuits ho sensem no pempom so aya bi no eye land grabbing na nimo ena na wotwe sende eye empanyifo yi ede ye wura mu ma ye call video mu so mo de mo tenase a na video etaito na pictures enum na empanyifo no nam ema brini nyina no abakosem ene eye hwehwemu pensem mo ye no na omama yehu ne ekoso ewo ye wiase na land grabbing no mu no ena na otwe se ne ofama yekohu se ene Europe ne ekoso no enye asemketwa na ne tie ne se ene ide eye World Economic Forum ene UN for ekwaye meeting bi minu mi na ye tie se nye wo fa ya adaroma anka yenim se September ye twa mi ya no meeting kese bi ekoso sa meeting no anamontu obi ananhyehyeye bi ekoso ma ye de nsam bi gu krata so eje nhyehyeye bi tomo ewo ye wiase mu asai nhyehyeye no ne sa nhyehyeye na omoje tomo no ebesesan niam pii ewo ya brabom ene ye wiase a ene ye wim na eno na ofa ema ye hu ye se ye fa bibi agenda 21 agenda 21 no eye enema ye de gu kwan mu se by 2030 ene globalist no enema mo de gu kwan mu ahwe se mpempenso o mpese wiase no edu mo mpese wiase no mo de omo wo kwan ne ni dadihu no omo pese wiase no omo hu se wiase no edu na saa nhyehyeye no ena omo kosia ya na edition omo kosia ya no nhyehyeye no omo se United Nations Pact for the Future eno ye nhyehyeye omo de ko gu ho a omo ko je to mo na eno no meeting ya course no course wo Davos na eno na ye be hu se enei ofama ye hu se enei eye carbon aye fe ni carbon yi eno maji atom se se afa omo ye kua especially emuawa ewo ho no omo muawa no eyi carbon yi pa eno no sanframa no omo se ama global ama enei ha wiase yi ema wiase yemframa ye homene ade no ema enye papa isa emuawa no emframa no omo yi no eno nti enei se wo ye ayemo a wa ye mo no ba ku bia no tax a edaso no eye $100 per animal bia no $100 sanchi se eye meeting e course no omo koje to mo enya no nko a omo san koje ato mo se ene yensu a ye no no so tax edaso omo je eni nti ene to ade de omo de gu hokon ma omo hwe se omo beje na eyi ene nsiseye pii ena omo ko ye no omo ko eje ya ofa nam so ma ye fe bi blueprint no ye be yi ohia se ye tu ekoma se ye ma enipa nyina enya fa hude we ne nsiseye nyina omo kwaje to mo a ni nyina ti no ofa eda na bi ma ye hu se sa na oma ka kire na so omo do mo otu na numu no sa ma ye ti hu se enei ni aye hu kura o wi ase se ye nyina ti se ye one world government no ye to di say one world order na eno na ofama ye hu se sa one world government na ye nyina ye hu no ya ti no abem sa one world government no abem ne ba abem ni se enei UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres eye 2023 ana odin krata bi koto mo se omoma kwan na onya tumi na timi fandi juma na enu na didi mo ama September ye twa mu ya no ofama ye hu se sa enei ya de sa tumi no ama na enei first no na UN aman ne nifo a omo kabo mu ma omo ya UN ni nyina no sa asemi ba ye fro omo nyina na adwentoatoa na obi a kire na adwene na ya hwe kwan so enei de anti sadium na nei nti say o ne say Antonio Guterres onya sa tu nyina eno nti enei say bi say take decision a ohia aman panyifo bia ene omo ese say omo ne omo tan se no wato adwene ene de o sa tu mi ne say isia onu atimi ka say hey yenye say oman bia anye we oman wo bia anye we ene sa tu mi no nsa akoka sa tu mi no na no asis ofama ye hu say sa tu mi no eye ena ye de command nti na UN Secretary General na ono te akusa akunya no so no wanya sa tumi na ene isa bibi sisesi a say health aye be declare pandemic o say ye ose say e ba se bibi e koso na ye say e ka say o how bi asia ene o sa tumi say na wa kire say we yesi nti yenye say last week eye na o twi say ne ma ye nyina na ene so ya trase ofa atrase na ene o ma meti ase say ene de ne de etwam edutwam kura aha ofa nso de waka ne de medini di esan so ndo timi ye oka oye yefo enu ti waka no odbe ma ye back to back enu ti sabri enyu afidie no emfi we ya television eye we Cap Africa jumadi yi fraunia no nia fraunia na ye nyina no jumadi ene yintumi eni me a metra egwom se jumadi nta me di ene kofi kumi afi ebi ana jumadi ewu ni fi na so opese oka ho ane jumadi obetimi aka ho 17 so now wake up Africa GH Facebook and YouTube nyina no e pa che okowa onsa ebeka sa jumadi now so wetimi ahwe jumadi live sa so now for SMS and or text message for me number abefa so abano 06 519335 0206 519335 na matrasi bekenkan e de amount maka ni say wiye no pa cho ma mefa announcement we entudwa na afi yenta ene eye kwasiada 3rd November na eye meme da wa yanuma ayebayi eye free the mind for national executive for asese dwumadie sunkubi ade ama free the mind for na dwumadie no ya fa ni say mentorship sana me matuni di mentorship na omu tu anamo amento sesei eye ofa ya opoku dankwa ono ofato ne ho so se ohwe Africa nititiri Africa abibiri mamu ha ye problem kesi a youth African youth ye wopa eye mentorship ye ni kofo mpanyifo a gina so omu mentor yen say for the do na no sabi o tumi ehun ni je ni tumi afufuru o ma aboro so ntino omo pe tumi ni dodo eti se omo nya tumi na esan so omo pe tumi ni no omo pese tumi se bi omo de control ni pantino aya na ya omo din se nimdia ni nyansa bi a omo pe ni ma omo timi ade ofi ebias kasam hyehyeye abrabom de omo fi ono omo be gina brane na omo tete ma omo de omo no dabi African ni fond do anano sabe we amunye esan se osro se yo osro se yeden yo amunye no amunim se ebia amutete youth ni bia ba da ne ho mra so ama ebia obese no anunti no Africa ha pa e mentorship na no wa fa ko so tete enipa bi tina yesi free the mind ayekwa papa tete most of so that you benya mentors are say abwa ama ya brabo betimi akonkan na no ana nei wa tini pani bia o ma ben adu pempen so afebie na we edo na nyoma ni say atechem ye kono region meme da wa yanimu ya no ebanyifo ba kopie mu voter region na de be koso na fei eye ye kotra kwan a obefa so a obetimi freedom eno ena mpanifo yi ekwakoche na no ebia na voter region so ba bia number obefa 558136 0241 558136 we nchiremu bia o bia no obetimi account ekomo bia Yama free the mind movement for kuonu members no anase epo wa omo na sawo voter region ni important na se dwumade e ba bia ahoro a mimi a yekọ no esika kase e na okopia ase ayi na so papa da roma aso we die yanyama free anunti voter region mɛyɛ ne saa no afekɔ ɔfaya hɔ na dwumadie no ne ɛwɔ hɔ no yɛntoa so ɔba gyene sɛ biribiara bɔkɔɔ wade ase ɛtaa la na menim sɛ wade agua yi deɛ abusuafoɔ nso agye agua ɛsiane sɛ wonya tena ase pɛ menim sɛ na ɔmo nso ɔmo atena ase nipa bi wode a wotena ase yɛba no nyinaa ɛyɛ nipa mensaa mmerɛ koraa ɛsiane sɛ abusua no atena ase mɛgya adwumadie no gyina ɛde ama wo na afei yɛwɔ hɔ no wode ama yɛ mede ase
na deɛ ɛdi kan yɛbɛkyia ahwɛfoɔ nyinaa
ahwɛfoɔ agye wo so wɔfa
sɛ obiara ho yɛ obiara yɛ krado ne yɛtwe ɛna afei wato akyi ɔma summary last week deɛ ɛsiiɛ nti deɛ mɛpɛ firi last week presentation no mu no sɛ yɛwieɛ no yɛwie me presentation no na meka biribi sɛ ɛne World Economic Forum wɔn gye tax wɔn sɛ by 2030 wɔn bɛgye carbon tax wɔn bɛgye nsuo tax and any other thing bi a wɔn bɛtumi quantify wɔn bɛgye ho na me wie no na meka sɛ wɔn mo gye ebisa wɔn sɛ sɛnea climate change nkɔfoɔ nipa adwuma yɛ a yɛyɛ ama ɛno ɛna contribute greatly to climate change crisis. Ti mi bɛ wie na bisa so ayɛ biara no yɛgye di sɛ climate change bi wɔ hɔ ana nti ɛnɛ no yɛba abɛhwɛ sɛ climate change na ɛwɔ hɔ sɛ environmental warfare ɛna ɛwɔ hɔ ebi hu nti no ti na nka sɛ ɛnɛ deɛ no bɛyi ɛba ne no ɛnɛ nsɔko ɛnɛ nsɔkpa so ne nyinaa ne sɛ yɛka yɛ starte climate nneɛma yɛ ɛna yɛka sɛ 1968 ɛna club of Rome ɛde bae wɔn deɛ wɔn bae adeɛ a wɔn specializing in is wɔn bɛ create crisis wɔn na bɛ invent environmental crisis ebizana committee bi atena se aka sɛ kɔba sɛ ntɔkwa firi wiase a ɛdeɛ ba adeɛ na ebetumi agyina so bi ahunhuna nipa deɛ hɔ na wɔn settle on environment ɛno ne story a yɛde start yɛ tie ne the mouth the story of climate change ɛhɔ na opening chapter no be the free the ɛkɔba yɛ a club of Rome ebe create environmental crisis ɛma akyire report from Iron Mountain ebe ma yɛhu tirimupo a edi akyire ɛde ba enti club of Rome ba yɛ a obe create crisis no the creating here say the assassin saying rally will be around in the world to save assassin the planet Earth and any story and to say no clear say no clear and only idea and ye banya baba be now the moon say if we are you can't say climate change about who ya say high profile publicity the climate change ni say the be besivia the ashe say ya ehu ebe ba be she ni pem je ye ni pe ye ni baka sa high profile publicity and ya di ma COVID-19 and this is a sign here dia every first picture
no. Your first picture no abodi adaso no time November 13th 2000 world weather global warming is bringing deluge and destruction to Europe. Scientists say we will have to get used to it. Sa picture no pacho munjengu mai mufanto so mai.
Next picture
okay. Next picture no daily graphic 20th October 2009. Brown warns of climate catastrophe. Mufasa picture no ento somaye. Okay.
Next picture.
Next picture no business guide 13th December 2009. Climate change Africa's pressing obstacle. Mufasa picture no ento somaye. Okay.
Next picture.
Next picture no Daily Graphic 24th September 2014. World leaders attend climate change summit. Mufasa picture no ento somaye.
Next picture.
Okay. Daily Graphic 24th September 2015. Pope Francis urges action on climate change on a visit to US. Mufasa picture no ento somaye.
Na Pope Francis die ono so ba ye no o take office and o ko share climate change echi e say no and I be die echi aba ye declare Sunday as the Sabbath no o di akwatia oba ade 7-day Sabbath na e be ba no no die so
Okay.
enye ne
Nyene.
ena enye china echina echi e be ba Pope Francis die so
That's it.
next picture.
Next picture no Ghanaian Times 27th November 2021. Global warning. Mufasa picture no ento somaye.
Oh, we do know the ban high profile publicity any edema.
Yeah.
If you ba climate change. E got a climate change. This is the BNC
Climate change.
climate change. Yeah, man profile into Tiwa. I can't say I'm to share.
For you na ya dwen wo yam sisi ya edu ya say epono kura no say be dey rise no ahwe ya be kakra edu no na ye wiase no kura be mem
nti anu nti enu ya hwe we ni na
okay
afi yakoye ni.
Okay.
Next picture
no Daily Graphic 3rd November 2021. Glasgow. Okay. Glasgow Summit on Climate Change. Honor your pledges. President tells wealthy nations. But your Mufasa picture no ento so
na say we dey ni be kan bibia fa.
Okay.
The room ni say what call Glasgow, Scotland. COP 27 and whatever. Ehona President Nanado Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Okoka say, "Hey, now bobi muna moka maybe atwam tuo na Copenhagen. Oko share na mo say, send ya me hu say climate change no. Send ya ma wo biase no. Ya pledge say afibia ye be go to sika $100 billion. Ye be chama poor countries. Send you so ombenya bibi to mitigate. Anini le biaba.
Okay.
Obekan public agenda, obekan be bia mama kia.
Mate.
Na ye nti amemu akan no. Susuan pa se abofu nim se climate change bi wo ho ni ahye pledge no a. E first kan wa.
Nkomo dia bada.
Na akwa ti se ade ye kan no wa na de na mo so magie di. Eni se bibia ni ho sa. Na mo ba bi twa sika nini we mo magie di sa dia eni ye.
Okay.
Ne kan man.
Yo. Me pa cha people of Adamayan public agenda. Friday edition, February 17, 2012. Okay. Now, I say a resume of Durban Conference COP17 on climate change. Okay. The year of Amakiamayeno, France. The Green Climate Fund, JCF, was founded within the framework of the UNFCCC as a mechanism to transfer money from developed to the developed world in order to assist the developing countries undertaking adaptation and mitigation practices to counter climate change. The establishment of a Green Climate Fund was agreed upon in COP16. The fund COP a year of a global of a COP no ni full year. Okay. Okay. The fund is to distribute $100 billion per year by 2020 to help poor countries adapt to climate impact, and was expected to be operationalized and resourced in Durban. However, this expectation was rather met with resistance from some powerful nations of Ampacho.
It is a situation pass climate change no correct. And I share and I pledge to say a better security since 2009. I be creative fund no and I can kind security woman. I feel no so near creating. Then I want to with it. If you say, when I said to me, Mama, I didn't say climate change in our hooks. A scam. You dare the horse only industrialized countries. Shall smoke near beer, you quiet with your CO2, no, one quarter, a year guilty of that. All my society, the biggest near the Abua developing countries. That was what you have from half. That's a much is for at the Atuma. I don't think I'm going to be farmer. And I am more coming developed countries in the Bob was Canada, poor countries in say money, that most money, a bit me see, Sanya may no quite. Na president ko kan say mo bosses so nti every be kind paper we maybe of the blame of the blame ma president na dey na ko kan say mo odi kan if you say boss I da why say ya kin kan mo share bo mo na kan say we subi na mo ni subi na ya dia mo kan ko ano e mo boa e no kre. Next feature. Expect no aye. October 2024. Firewood, charcoal, silent review. Firewood, charcoal, silent killer speaks at NPA forum. Move us up picture no and so my. Na assembly speakers at NPA. Eddie. Let so mo ko na mo kwa ko probo tu se fi na ko mamu mfa jabidie enye aduane mamu mfa eja enye aduane na mo nyusu LPG liquefied gas ena mo mfa no aduane a wa u promote product na so be ka kire me se sa ne me ye silent killers Chaku, edin the cake. If you just say I can climate change. Yes, we can be not the China, the Bidia, these are part of the human the essay environment, you know, and the Munya Bidia use Munya, a coin, and Nina, yeah, computer, yeah, the Baba, you know, Nina, essay climate, and there's a climate change, and you see, Binigosa. Na say eja say kwa na nkofo di ko mfi ko soja ifiti ya mu soja de ko e di ba eja ewu ni o mu kuta yinka eja mo no da eja na eje bebi eja no a ewu eni akwa kuta na di ba bi soja ni e di anu aduane edi mo ko foru ya mo ko kan say sa ni ma we a obi okenka e bi na bi a say obi release frightening statistics from WHO, na me wana ji WHO di. WHO ni wana ji di. Odi data bi aba be gu ho. Ena ja any chakula, edi pa use no. Almost every year, edi pa you know about 5 million globally in the far we won. Now in any case, your guy charcoal any firewood because I say climate changing. Fossil fuel, petroleum, gas, any crude oil, and also say something to them say they facing out. When facing out the renewable energy. It is a one bar gas no will promote to no. They say use. And you have a day the burn no be as I say must enjoy firewood in charcoal. Gas and have a gas is a fossil fuel and also as we cause way. And you have a is that what you are telling us? Please. Say only when you will climate change and corona idea and thank Uncle Fat a hand and ma asem a diasem and Concopa. Next picture no Daily Graphic 18th November 2017. Climate change remains greatest threat to humanity. UN Secretary General. What was happening to Somalia? That's same thing. Publicity about climate change. Say the threat must continue. The scare must continue. If you say, see, I know, sir, you to me, if you are sick, and woman, and you can say, climate change hoax, you know, and climate change scam, you know. It is all about mind control and compliance. That is all that there is to it. You know, it was about mind control and compliance. Climate change, you know, and then you see Subia, the being where it is. If we know Kono, obey you and answer 7 years. Because there's nothing there like that. The first video I ever scientists one more contribution to a document a bar out, you know. One university studio say yes. Because an activity at where how near money who ever any record can severe damages your first video no about the great climate who was that video no climate change who was.
This is the story of how an eccentric environmental scare grew into a powerful global industry.
It's a wonderful business opportunity. You want climate, we'll give you climate.
There's a huge amount of money, huge, big money scam.
There are not just now billions, but there are trillions of dollars at stake.
It's a story of self-interest and big government funding.
People like me, our careers depend on climate research. This is what I've been doing just about my whole career. This is what the other climate researchers are doing with their whole career. They don't want this to end. If CO2 isn't having huge negative impacts that we claimed it was having originally, are we going to stay in business?
A lot of people's livelihoods depend on it. They're not going to give that up.
This is a story of the corruption of science.
There's no such thing happening on this planet now. It's evidence of one.
The climate alarm is nonsense, you know, it's a hoax. I've never liked hoax. I think scam.
It's a story about the anyone who dares to challenge
to speak up against or about climate change in any sort of skeptical way was
potentially career suicide.
Even calling for any skepticism to be criminalized. It's the story on individual.
It's a wonderful way to increase government power. If the existential threat out there is worldwide, well, you need a powerful worldwide government, you know, to cope with it.
We see all these kind of authoritarian measures.
Yeah, Wake Up Africa di Medina sabi wani gusua. Video na ekwache ye no. Efa climate change. We ye akuku dam. We anya bibi ni asawo. Abrofo na akuku dam fo a eba climate change ene ne ho nsensem ewia aye enframamu ehwehwemu ne ho ade a. We ne yakuku dam fo a omo abrofo na anu mpanyifo ne nimu omo se we ne yakuku dam fo. Omo nyina asema omo kan se sa climate change nsensem na ene etu atesa ye kan wasem no host hudu asem na ni nyina ne ye se enipa bi abomutiri po boni se on be so mo control nipa na okoyo me fa so me control nipa no no omo fa government so ena omo de sa nsiseye we se na be ya omo de be control nipa na omo se we nyina so no koyo mo fa so de ya mo business. Even say, omo ye nyina no, omo ye mu products a, omo de ba out a. Sa products ye ba di atom. Na no yara ka che o say no de enyusu gas, enyusu we, tell de wo yusu a, e ma climate change no climate no enya problem bia. Another video of ama ye ko hwe ye mpanyifo akukudama e wo mu a, omo kasa e. Omo say climate change no. E trimupo boni nipa bi e na hye ne aman government aman panyifo ahodo aka bom nam so a omo pese omo control manfo na omo de how to omo manfo so over acho
yo ko fi da ase enu ko ewu mu ni say since the 1940s weather battles among nations peja won any say this anu and countries we are imagine say they don't manipulate weather no to our advantage. Manipulation here there we use cloud seeding. You can cloud seeding na technology here. You use silver iodide and that's a dry ice. We shoot into the atmosphere, into the clouds. Senior so create ope so create insuator and then now we use now the enya say insuator now pa insuator better area country be our benwo oni ni share border no how no didi watema o say na make show no bro na mu bia no ni nyina abeshi enti ya we dey over spray dia ko no so ni area na insuator na ope na share go na say ni na no abeba and the bag ba kon ajo dem the bag
of last week min twa no last week yi mo a ya say Real Madrid ne Atletico de Madrid o se den ne so bi to ato Spain no amasisia no ball no kwantimi amasia se ne ma asai okuru no so no
eno de ebeba ho eno enye class yi de ebeba ho
I see
enti anu ena starting say di ni djuma en kakra na yi inhabitants of the earth adwene free ho ene yesi ni na mu twa no bidie no amohye no say acidic rain enam say ye spray food chemicals ni ayi no na pollute environment no na ko ye munkum na sa to se nsuo na ba be se achichiri we nyina dia se etiri ene agiedi. But the real issues no are cause no eno de ewachi I'm interested in so 1961 President Kennedy ko address UN General Assembly e ho no ka so propose say ye betimi anya akonya bi yetimi predict yetimi control the weather. That was in 1961. 1962 ɛna ɔno ara ne vice president Lyndon Baines Johnson wɔn nso kɔɔ ne alma mater no school bi a na ɛwɔ Texas wɔ baabi ɔkɔɔ ne ɔkɔ address yɛ ɛna asɛm a ɔkaa ɛyɛ sɛ seesei no whoever controls the weather will control the world. Don't look at when you know, and I did research ahodoɔ no ba ya a day and some will mean a buy. And the country started say one uses silver iodide. Every control weather no and you America call Vietnam. One can use a monsoon rains no at all Vietnam no. A bit me a weapon at the amount. And the only plus yes one day cloud seeding. You best spray areas no na the come for every goodness and even send in surely car ever car than a teacher. Let us say a limited woman movement, that is woman advantage. Obi journalists been a team woman in the 70s and our American government abandoned it. And you know you know all do Operation Popeye and the year to prolong the monsoon rains in Vietnam. And when you know America lost the war. And the Aquacoba said China monsoon heavy. All the leading countries will be here. And things will sound swahoo dua. It's a day with the battle. And when the this year, climate change, you know, one year, the ammonia, and from 1961. Article be by man, but my can say the record not make kind in person. Okay. And in tea, I will be the article you say. Yeah, together, I know can I could some boons you now, I could some boons you now. I could some boons you are near a chance, nature, and a women's theatre. Say, really, I don't think you use cloud seeding technology, a potential solution to the low water level of Akoso Boda. Because manipulation of the weather, no dear, Abba, so be a yebi, and you be a gusua. You be a back. And they say, a combat say, the effect of cloud seeding no buy-in. And proponents of climate change, yes, at 20 years could see as a result of the Omar. And I can know. I don't think I'm they say, dear, ya must say, no, technology we buy erratic weather occurrences. Say, a problem is you talk. If you talk there now, that will say erratic climate occurrences. Yes, yes. Did one say a nature and I mean, I know the sound goes out to that. A better than your mind, the no control. You do about the show. Now, when you are causing sadly, no, say a better say, cloud seeding, no, I know, and a big winning in Abba. I heard they are catastrophe. Enipa and a CO2 and a medical and a factory fathers, my name Chiedo, woman to me emissions, gas emissions, woman qua bad 20%. And the other engineer Mamuntua, Bill Gates last week, no of can say, and then train you know, you replace cows. When we now the Abba, and you know, say, Bayamo, you have who said the air consuming. Near the annual water. Near the above she said, Enipa and I hear Ama Sami Mayamba. Indeed, Mother Moon crossing here on the blind side of Eviasi. Eviasi have a JD, gullible world. Hey, climate change in the annual show, climate change in the annual show, until the year do not be said. The best thing near whom you say, a say, and I see. Now, class reading, you know. You move to another level. And then put you want to see a red class yourself. You buy and say, climate change you want Bill Gates. Oh yeah, now they say, send a reality boss as is required. And go be at the research viva. Then the police cut the architecture. Now research then say, what's it say? ewiase asase kulu kakra ema endia and you see spray dust as a chalk millions of tons into the atmosphere and over block a sunlight na ebama environment the obia be share let us say the plant ade ewiabo so a ebenini no ebe on the see shutting it down no anyway na odunitani bishi no the technology abanda efenu solar engineering and I say jo na kwa ba sisi na aba edini sa but we na story no because I need the bibi anche to be more severe than any other thing in fact when you ba be ewura ni ati ase ani ehunu say climate change dey climate change say nipa na cause we say nipa na cause eye kurudu rather sem emo bi anyi ni so secretariat bi organa na no omunya omutawa ni say no ba ye the evidence na be kasa sa o na o mabiem na yeah next picture the next picture no abodi da so no I say Bill Gates funding an attempt to stop climate change by dimming the sun with millions of tons dust. Mufasa. Okay, offer. I'm going to so. It is said all kind there. Say no person say you be spray me say the second video. Okay. Second video is funding solar engineering research. Mufasa video no enu maye na abusuani nya bi hwe.
Bill Gates is backing the first high-altitude experiment of one radical climate change solution, creating a massive chemical cloud that could cool the Earth. It's called solar geoengineering, and it's highly controversial.
How long will it be that countries keep experiencing these climate impacts before someone gets desperate and says, hey, we need to cool the planet with solar geoengineering?
It would look something like this. Thousands of planes would fly very high and use nozzles to inject millions of tons of light-reflecting particles into the stratosphere. It would create a thin chemical cloud of those particles around the whole planet, blocking some sunlight from reaching the surface. It would mimic a giant volcanic eruption, which we know cools the Earth. Back in 1991, Pinatubo erupted in the Philippines. It was the largest eruption to affect a densely populated area, creating avalanches and giant mud flows that left 100 dead and 30,000 homeless. It also spewed a cloud of 20 million tons of sulfur dioxide particles into the stratosphere. That chemical cloud was hundreds of miles across and reflected about 2% of sunlight back to space. And in 1992, the Earth was cooler than in 1991.
That is part of the mechanism, but you do this in a controlled way.
Modelling studies have found that it could reduce the intensity of heat waves, for instance. Apparently it could reduce the rate of sea level rise. It could reduce the intensity of tropical storms.
But it also comes with significant risks and uncertainties.
Things like flooding, drought, kinds that will affect very large populations.
It could weaken monsoons in India, China, and Africa enough to affect crops. It could eradicate blue sky.
You start increasing the amount of diffuse light and you have less direct light, which is the same thing as saying it looks hazy and white.
And if the global community decides it should stop?
So you stop injecting it, and after a year, the cloud is gone, you get this rapid warming at a rate much faster than you would get if we had done nothing. If you've taken out the greenhouse gases that are adding to the warming, then the temperature won't go up, it'll stay what it is. So stop emitting greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. We don't try as hard as we can to do that, then there's no point.
Wake Up Africa, Jimmy D, and when you go to now, when you say, of us, or the more back to back. Now, Anna, or tell near Ecos Nova, was it or challenging? Now, Pruvia Chell say, climate change, you know, I have to brother them. Ampa, some of the gate with the young and nay. Ya Bob gate the enemy so no there and ya mabone a ekuti oba de natural nature no natural things no on the ne hye best sorry tia ko tia ampa nti be hwa ya wa bo se na plane bi na etutuo fita ne airplane Russia plane I don't know how much kokko nti na ye spray ne ma buwiem ya bi be sizi awia ne o ma control weather ofa ampa osi opubi atro eno na ampa yehwe no we ni niema ekoso a ye de akose climate change ati ka mo se nyankopon na de na we se wu ya no wa na odi how enso timita na nyina how ye se nyankopon we ye ya so odin na nipa eneta ya chi
geoengineering ene abiase se ewia na e ma sunshine contribute so much towards life on earth, you know. You block no out a demon. Yeah, sassy so stenya you very enjoy. Now geoengineering is an illustration, yes. And I say jet sprayed full fly ash chemicals no. The fellow say cool fly ash. Toxic chemicals the cool fly ash no residue woman na baby akodampu nti e ba say the boy and the any resources between the geoengineering ama e be effect na enya wo so a cell life forms on the planet akraka ya hudua aba enya ko on Mars ni nyina no part engineering ekoso ewo ewiase no engineer we the woman say jet no we technique and no outdoor no ya hewiem wo ha bo say no dia Janet last to India ya after some time no na diffuse na be white haze India na je na eko ka Russia when you say Russia to kwa Russia form the you know and on the day at rental so bonny and you can yawo next video the next video no abodi a da so no exposing cover up but mo fa sa video no enu ma yen na abusuan nya bi enhwe
populations is the condensation trail lie. What we're seeing in our skies is not sprayed particulate dispersions with very few exceptions.
They should. Jet engines burn clean. So if there's anything coming out of them, it's an additive.
They're absolutely not contrails. Contrails do not linger, dissipate, and go into cloud, period, in the report.
And I'm thinking to people, you know, what is now the sky is no longer blue, it's starting to turn gray. And what I found was kind of like it was not socially acceptable. You know, we're all going to pretend this is not really happening. And I thought, oh, this is very bad.
Unfamiliar with a science term called global dimming. That term refers to the amount of direct sunlight that no longer reaches the surface of the planet due to light scattering particles that are building in the atmosphere. And although many of these particles are from industrialized pollution, the larger majority are from the ongoing climate engineering solar radiation management operations.
Sabri wani guso a wohwe dwumadi na ya wake up Africa na we de wani tse yehubi ebi Esamsa yende gade ni kokohwe aba ye ewiem na ye dandane ne ho obaba mame ba ko sai no sa mame no na oye former George Bush oye cabinet member ano ye adwuma o George cabinet mu our female stream media mainstream politics amene mame no watena no mutu se sa ma we nyina ayehu no eye geoengineering a ye trimupo bone nipa bia ya ompeso mo control weather no ono US kama no mu no omo no mo bo posipo ma ewi ase no ne eko George Bush tinoka onimia oka na gese ampa na offer eka no eno evidence no bi ena offer yipie no offer enti fi 2017-18 hon mo ba nyina no a engineering control yes afi weather disasters ba nyina no the result of Katrina obeti yes Katrina we a confirmed number into your baba okay eba climate change advocates climate change no oboa geoengineering your next picture no Fox News okay Bill Gates funding an attempt to stop Nwaba into Fox News and was Deming doesn't could backfire in dangerous ways. Pacho fasa picture no eto somaye. Enti Bill Gates here na dey say the secret kwa ko share dimming the sun through the tunnel. And a Fox News a program bi emma na o se nfinfin no ya o be ka say sa die we die e dia e din sunsun so bone e be ni abre asase sofo ya fi yenko yento ne he your next picture no Daily Graphic 15 July 2021 Agric Ministry alert prolonged drought worrying low food production in 4 regions. Mufasa picture no ento somai. Where Ghana. So by na say open na sini dey say there. Yes, geoengineering at work. Eno ntiro we ya ho bibie enye nia ye kika. Eno fa Ghana dey we dey da ko ni. Na say dey be say eno na ehia myself. Ena yanka climate change e ho asem. European farmers no ye dey share omo so omo moa ena emiti gas wote Ghana ha na kwotwa bia ewu na so di eja e ba se no dey cover by e dey na wo person oye climate change and say your contribution to climate change no kwa say enso we mo ya na adi adi ne kase enti na niema kase na si na se down control weather na nkasa na weather na di enti na prolonged drought betting aba geoengineering. Next picture na ye koso no Daily Graphic 16th July 2021 moon wobble rising seas to cause flooding NASA mufasa picture no ento so emaye emu kan bibi kitwa bi yo ha we kitwa bi of amate yes say we Daily Graphic yeah Daily Graphic you know Friday July 16 2021 moon wobble rising seas to cause flooding NASA and Ekan Wasem also Washington United States 15 of upcoming natural changes in the moon's orbit. A so-called moon wobble coupled with rising sea levels caused by climate change could lead to record flooding of the earth in the coming years. A recent study by the United States Space Agency NASA and the University of Hawaii has found okay next picture next picture no Daily Graphic, 10th August. UN report warns of extreme heat waves. Professor Peter no enter so my hey yo
when my ACC no it's gone beyond climate change. Geoengineering.
When you about can say natural, and if natural disaster.
And maybe natural disaster anymore. With the introduction of geoengineering technology, the anywhere say nature may be nature may not be next picture.
Your next picture now. Daily Graphic, 31st August 2021. Hurricane Ida kills one, knocks out power across New Orleans. Mofasa Peter no ento so MI.
Oh, when more ACC na hurricane wave, the background, the beauty of it is it is kind of 2 million. Atlanta one bank from ever no beauty with the fellow having medical. Next picture.
Next picture no abodi edaso graphic 20 April 2022. UN predicts more disasters. But you first picture no to so my.
More destructive disasters no. Geoengineering. Yeah, I'm paying the green. Na sabu do no plane empuma wo by a drink nyano ena enema aeroplane mu no ya next video wa hwe me de me nka ho asem wa hwe yo into your next video
your next video na body adaso no the planet Earth under assault of global weather warfare. Mufasa video no enjengu man na abusiafo no enye bi hwe.
And our purpose of our site is to close the issue of global climate engineering, otherwise termed as geoengineering. We're really under assault right now. It's not alarmism, it's not exaggeration. This type of weather machine puts out chemicals and toxins, some known, some not known. Many people who try to debate this issue, if they ask you why this is going on, we have filmed it. End of the argument. There's no debate, no discussion. This is not speculation. When we have films that we can clearly see are spraying, there's no denying that spraying. We have interior films, or interior footage, which I'll show in a moment. But the bottom line is that's not a condition. Any notion that it is simply denial or complete ignorance. So this is. You can even see on this jet that each side of the plane, the plumes are different lengths, which means the nozzles are not aligned perfectly. You see different composition in the trail, also indicative of different materials being installed from different portions of the aircraft. So again, this amounts to weather warfare. Pierce has historically engaged in weather warfare around the globe. It's historical fact. We have data going back to Vietnam, 1968, Project Popeye. 1976 resolutions forbidding weather modification in wartime. So again, this is not speculation. We live in a society that's been trained to shut down when they hear the word conspiracy theory. They've been conditioned pretty well. But the bottom line is this is the issue that can't be ignored any longer. People can ignore Kennedy, people can ignore false flag events like Vietnam and even whatever happened on 9/11, but this issue can't be ignored. When in the North State, for example, we turn on our water faucets and nothing comes out, that's the end of the road. This is very recent. This is from 2 days ago. Al Gore, use of geoengineering to head off climate change disaster is insane. So although we don't have an admission that's going on, it's getting closer by the day, and it looks like Al Gore is trying to now distance himself from these programs that he has not admitted to yet. This is important media. They'll be seeing more of this in the coming weeks. One interior shot there. Again, we can't know from the variance of different planes the different configuration of spray apparatus. This is an ongoing experiment. There's likely many different configurations. We see aircraft trails that have different color composition. So this is an ongoing experiment of which we are all a part, like it or not. Another interior, high pressure tanks. When this image was posted, the sites that initially posted it, a couple of them were taken down. This image appeared to be tried to be taken off the net as quickly as possible, but too many people downloaded it. It's out there now. More configurations. Obviously, there's a whole lot of planes with a whole lot of tanks doing a whole lot of something. So this kind of footage should not be ignored. Clearly, these are what would appear to be passenger planes, most of them with windows. So there appear to be many different types of aircrafts involved in the spraying activities. This is what we have. Again, global geoengineering, the ever-changing experiment, and we are again. Russian scholar warns of secret U.S. climate change weapon. We have Russia engaged in this as well. We also have China. And this is one of the reasons why it's so hard to get any sort of mainstream coverage, because the big players are all involved up to the eyeballs. So that's one of the reasons the media coverage is so sparse, but coming. What do weather weapons do? They wreak havoc in countries without anybody knowing they're even under assault. In the case of floods, droughts, all of this is a form of weather weaponry and weather warfare. And there is no arguing that we are all a part of weather warfare when our climate is being impacted the way it is right now. Again, countries around the globe, this sort of impact, nobody would recognize as being an assault. And that's what's so prized about weather warfare for the powers that be. Nobody even knows they're being attacked. Bridges, infrastructure, wiped out. You can literally bring a country to its knees. You can bring a state to its knees as well, especially a state that doesn't seem to want to conform too much with the federal government. You can drought them out completely. And that's exactly what's happening in California right now. This sort of drought in Africa has been used for decades. We know these programs have been going on, and their impact in Africa appears to be directly related to bringing countries to their knees and opening up the door for U.S. occupation. You have U.S. boots on the ground in about 156 countries around the globe. Not singling out the U.S. because other countries, again, as I said, are at this as well. Empty reservoirs. This is where California is headed today. I think we all know that. If we reach the end of this year without significant rainfall, we will be in free fall into a cataclysm that's never before been recorded. Our forests are going, as geoengineering impacts the system from top to bottom, it starts to feed itself. As you cut off the moisture for boreal forests, which are the lungs of the planet, the terrestrial lungs of the planet, and they begin to burn, that feeds an entire climate cycle and begins to tilt it even further off scale. So this is non-linear. Once it starts to tilt, it tilts faster and faster. These sorts of clouds historically have not been well recorded. Now they are. This sort of sky that many have become accustomed to and think is somehow normal is anything but. This is an error.
Na adia bako a ehu pa ne se ewiase unnim bibi na ewiase na obi a unnim ana wo hia obi a o kire obibi mu na me ban na unsua bibi mfim na won kohwe se be hwehwe kire kwan ayese ampa na emu no onipa ne kana na obi wa no aye masa yedin oboa onim ni awoka onim na deban onim ni akoso ye nyina ye hu asam na omo ka no omo se na omo to bi se your friend say we there anya no kra conspiracy theory sa omo se omo nim de na omo nim ni omo ye no no ma se da to so we theory anya no kra we there nipa bi ata bum trim pono mo bi na we omo kire ama ofa bie mama ye hu say the passengers yesa eyi nkonya ni nyina no man pipes no ede we no gases no omo sise no ma ye no ma bie windows no nanamu we ofa prove ama wa ya de a plane ne yesa bi ni nyina no omo sika ye no di a kirew odi esa wo ho na wo se ye fa ne say conspiracy theory ya ye nyina so we ya de so ena kane no a me kwa bi so ano bi se atoyente bia ene yete no na eni ho na so ene de yehu ene kidney issues aye na no ye fa ne 16-year-old girl aye so na wanya kidney issue anka waiting the coffee over.
If I tell you second video,
okay, video. Engineering and mega global food shortages. But I'm not saying video no emu mai.
Yes, I know. Create drought. Four regions into me here, you know. You heard the effect of drought on global agriculture.
Okay.
This is the real reset, is what it is the basically what the idea behind this film. To talk about the real reset that we've been hearing about.
I think the title is British Reset, and I'm interviewed in that film. And what is important to remember here, that ultimately the bottom line reset is nature. And as this intervention in the planet's life support system has so many decades, since it deployed its immediately right after World War II, the damage is so horrific now that ultimately nature will have the final reset as the planet's life support systems implode. What's happening? People take for granted the planet's ability, Greg, to make climate engineering is decimating that mechanism of the planet's life support systems. It is destroying the ozone layer. And that by itself, Greg, is an existential threat so severe that the foreign NASA contractor that works directly with geoengineeringwatch.org with Meteor Item is now advancing his statistical forecast at total ozone layer collapse to even sooner. And that means that food, and we're already seeing the effect of scorching foliage, killing trees. It's burning bark off of trees. It certainly has a massive effect on plants. And we're seeing the disruption of the hydrological cycle, which is the crop production everywhere, as I mentioned, the death of the soil microbiome. From all these directions, Greg, it's tightening the noose around our collective necks, if you will, and that's why we've tried so hard at bringing this to light. And in addition, Greg, why do you think this is a platform to biologicals? We know in the case of C19, I don't mean to diverge from our subject here, I want to point out to people that this is a direct assault on systems every breath we take. We have Italy to prove that CV19 was found attached to airborne particulates. How does that happen? We have the world's second most Kim called now working directly for who? Bill Gates. We have Bill Gates buying up anyone else. He's the largest farmland owner in the U.S. of all. And we have Gates involved with the Doomsday Seed Bank in the Arctic. We have paint a very, very nefarious picture. And back to the original subject of the in the U.S. breaking farmers, causing, in many cases, pennies on the dollar to buy it up. It appears Bill Gates. So we have the foxes running the hen houses from top to bottom, Greg, and if we don't deal with this soon, we're not going to have much left to care about.
It should. Let's bring it right back around to the food. We started with the mega drought. Your closing thoughts about this mega drought that is looking like it's not going to go. That's what the reporting is. That's what the map is. That this right here is, and you're saying this is the best they can make it look. You're saying that this is worse than what the government's own maps are. This is the best they can make it look.
It is worse, Greg, and they pretend that this is somehow a result of a warming planet, and that is not true. I'm not denying the planet's warming. In fact, it's in total meltdown. The drought in the western U.S. and other parts of the world, that is a direct result of climate engineering operations. And if we I would encourage your listeners to search geoengineeringwatch.org, engineer drought catastrophe target California. And you have to put our website in first as well if you're in Google, because Google's doing everything they can to hide our. So you have to, again, search geoengineeringwatch.org, engineer drought catastrophe target California, and you will be covered exactly what was happening and exactly what happened if the operations were allowed to carry on. And that's exactly what has happened. Greg, as I've discussed with you and brought up formally on the air, knows full well what's happening and why. I personally presented to him in the Capitol data which he could not, and yet we see them pretending that this isn't happening because it comes from the same central bankers mentioned earlier in this broadcast. So no one is willing to bite the hand that feeds them, even if the entire ship is down, and indeed it is. And when they publicize that this will continue and will worsen, this weather, because we have defense contractors and Lockheed Martin that are neck deep in climate engineering patents and operations. They now do all the weathering for the National Service and NOAA, the nation's weather. And those two agencies, National Weather, illegal federal gag orders on them. How many pieces of the puzzle do we need before we're in a fight for life? They're cutting off our food supply, hampering the ability of the farmers to grow food when they have to sell their farms for pennies on the dollar. Gates there ready to snap it up. This is, again, a complete takeover, but the bottom line fact, whatever agendas and objectives these various those agendas and objectives are, as they decimate the ability to support life, game over. And again, this goes back to what I planet's ability to make clouds, for example. As they destroy the ozone layer, that's killing microbiome of the planet, it's killing plankton. Plankton, single greatest source of atmospheric oxygen production, emit elements into the atmosphere that help the production of clouds over the ocean zones. We have the death of forests, which is a second source of oxygen on the planet, cloud production. We have literally the planet have a hydrological cycle being completely derailed. And people take these things for granted, Greg, and that has to stop. This intervention in our life support system happening in skies, climate engineering, geoengineering, solar radiation management, is the greatest assault ever launched by the human race in entire life. If these operations continue, our days are numbered. And again, that's from so many directions that it would take much more to go into all of it. But from the ozone layer collapse to, again, the death of our forests, the death of the oceans, many causal factors, but climate engineering core to all of them, and it's not being acknowledged by the whole of academia, and that is a betrayal, Greg. That's a criminal betrayal of the human race and the entire web of life. Denying these operations, environmental groups are denying these operations because they don't want to lose one series. Let's all just pretend it's not happening until the entire
ama ya ko hwe video no na video no me bone tofa papa ne kire se ye engineer no eye ade a nipa ye tibia mu no eye how kese pa sa akada eye supon akofa ba se nipa ensua sa no pacho amu kire se sa ne mana yesua na ye gusu ye ho aitu na mo no your how kese a di nsusu so boni awadi ne e di abrayen ba chese se ye koso e ye njai ayi wo ne koso dia ene ye kan se ya temu no tia ye nti wi ase kura na panyino e ma ye tia se ofa pacho das ase enti di no wiem a yes they nisi ene nam ho ene e friend chemtrails idin no na chemtrails no chemicals a woman no idin aluminum oxide and dangerous chemicals be say e bi problem ya evia sem ebe na aha enema so any platforms is spray chemtrails no affect all kinds of life in the video no atuni din say cool no ebe me nya opportunity yeah the chemicals no who chemicals your next video chemtrails, they are coal ash. Chemtrails, they are coal ash.
Ash. Since the mid-1990s, persistent trails have appeared in the sky and have increased year after year. For 2 decades, it has been a mystery as to what the jets are spraying on us. Finally, we know the source material of these jet chemtrails. Coal ash is reprocessed to create the chemtrail base mixture. Chemtrail residues in rainwater have the same mix of toxic metals as those found in coal-burning power plants. Such a huge amount of chemtrails is sprayed every day that there is no other source for these nanometal oxides except coal ash. Fly ash and ash are created at every coal-fired power plant. Fly ash is rich in ammonium oxide, about 30%, which is the main chemical found in chemtrail rainwater tests. Coal combustion waste from power plants is the biggest industrial waste stream in the world. About 120 million tons created each day alone. Over 50 million tons of fly ash is created in the USA each year by processing the coal combustion waste. More than 40% of ash reprocessed into cement, road base, drywall, bauxite, shingles, plastic filler, and publicized uses, like chemtrail mix. The use of fly ash has more than doubled since chemtrails began in the mid-1990s. Chemtrails account for millions of tons of coal ash reused every year. Secret chemtrails labeled component of fill ash in this documents. 39% of the electricity generated in the U.S. is made by burning coal. Disposing of the ash at each coal-burning power plant is a billion-dollar problem, with most ash put in nearby landfills at a very high cost. After the Kingston, Tennessee coal ash spill in 2008, the electric utility paid over $1 million and spent over 5 years to clean it up. The secret chemtrail program receives fly ash from coal-fired power plants at a very low cost, since the power plant operators are trying to get rid of the ash. Railroad or barge transportation makes it easy to move millions of tons of processed fly ash to secret air bases. All coal electric utilities use transportation, such as railway, to bring coal to the plant. Therefore, it's very easy to remove the fly ash. The low cost of the fly ash, the existing processing facilities, the easy transportation, all out in the open, and the lack of public awareness concerning coal waste make fly ash the source material for the secret chemtrail program. Patent number 5003186 describes cooling the earth with metal oxides sprayed into the stratosphere. Fly ash has the right size and mixed oxides, so a minimum amount of processing is needed to create a ready-to-spray, water-based chemtrail slurry. Coal fly ash has the correct size, 10 to 100 microns according to the patent, to be used as a Welsbach reflective material when sprayed in the upper atmosphere. In addition to aluminum, rainfall testing shows a variety of toxic metals which are all found in coal ash, depending on the source of the coal. This rainfall test from Chico, California has high readings in aluminum and barium. This rainfall test from Alachua County, Florida shows high aluminum every day and high barium on a single day. Coal ash is composed primarily of oxides of silicon, aluminum, iron, calcium, magnesium, titanium, thallium, sodium, potassium, arsenic, mercury, and sulfur, plus small amounts of radioactive uranium and thorium. Barium, Ba, is always present in coal ash.
Africa jumadi na wani guso a wohwe na video a ye hwe eye nia of a person who the validity of chemicals no a omutugu wiemu no senia etie na chemical ni bi wo ho a ye coal ash no in the America mamu no company ye ho adwuma no to be good baby. Na a car or boy yansana or mutimi cleaning up or because I'm got to be one unlawful to America minor say on bet ye I year baby I'm got to go yeno. Na a car or boy ye and it take on 5 years. Na nearma a team say yeno. It is a near mine after my fuck when you're saying so as I say amuye no ma ko jagu wiem se me no mienu nyina ne ye home eno any video of amaye ko hwe enye toxic ketwa we ye ade a ekọ hu home a na ekọ mu dia o ye dan eno nti on pa se sa ko so aye gusu ye ne de ye nkwa etia e wasase so ofa
kofi me da asini nchechirimu enti asase ya etisui ohani amani hu a yehu esa chemtrails ya ene yedi gu esu ya to aso video ya next video ni ede
your next video no eno so ye chemtrails what are they and why is it happening or say chemtrails what are they and why
it is
happening first video no enu mai
and why it's happening. Can you give us an introduction?
Yeah, again, the term geoengineering, aka chemtrails, that are the layman's term for what we see happening in the skies, but this is weather modification on a global scale. In fact, these programs are so large, so all-encompassing, that all other weather modification programs that go on a smaller regional basis are they're negated by the scope and scale of the global geoengineering programs. And these programs involve a number of aspects. You have the saturation of the atmosphere with various chemical and metal particulates. And there appear to be various purposes and objectives with this saturation. In conjunction with the saturation, it ionizes the atmosphere. It makes the atmosphere more conductive. We have the HARP facilities, High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. These are ionosphere heaters. Many have heard of the HARP facilities. There's not just 1 or 2 or 3. We believe there's at least 18 around the globe, possibly with 3 more being built in Antarctica right now. Once the atmosphere is saturated with these particulates, and then you add the ionosphere heaters, the entire weather system globally is virtually being thwarted. There is no natural weather at this point, and we don't know what sort of climate conditions we would have necessarily if these programs were brought to a halt, and they desperately need to be brought to a halt, because the saturation of the atmosphere is thwarting the hydrological cycle. It's totally disrupting the rain cycle. Again, we have the artificially nucleated snowstorms, which I just mentioned. You can't go from 100 degrees to snow in one day without a whole lot of help. This includes jet stream manipulation with the HARP facilities, and we are not guessing at this. We have monitoring sources for this signal, and we can see where the signal is most intense, and that's what steers the jet stream. So then you add artificial ice nucleation, which is a chemical nucleation process. They can turn what should have been rain into snow and drop the temperatures of these storm systems by this artificial chemical nucleation. This isn't sci-fi, this is hard science fact. The weather disseminating agencies are trying desperately their task, and they're all owned at the very top, it appears, by the Rothschilds and or other parts of the global elite complex. Rothschilds in particular are ownership of Weather Channel, Weather Central, Weather Underground, and it was imperative that they own these agencies, otherwise there would be great discrepancy in trying to explain away these events.
I will look at Africa. Sabi, oti wegwama. ɛna w'ani gu so a wohwɛ yi na kyerɛ sɛ video na ɛba ne nneɛma na ɛba no ehu ɔfaka sɛ na mpa bɛpuvi ampa na ampa ɔpuvi a kyerɛ sɛ nea ɛkyerɛ no nyinaa no ɛyɛ sɛ weather manipulation weather weapon kyerɛ sɛ sɛ ana ɔmo de weather no ayɛ weapon ayɛ akodi a obi tumi de sɔre akutia ɔman bi ɛno ɛne nneɛma a ɔfa ɛda na di a ɛma yɛhwɛ no ɔfa mbakyɔ
yɛne video yɛpɛ sɛ kyerɛ ne sɛ yɛnye climate change na yɛtua carbon tax sɛ wobɛkae a begates no mu aka ama ɛwɔ wiase nyinaa sɛ by 2030 yɛba abɛtua carbon tax to inhabitants of the earth yɛba abɛtua carbon tax water tax earth this video na so wa can say climate change na yɛntua carbon tax yan to musa dia countries no e be spray ni da
video no ɛyɛ believe the climate and pay carbon tax or yenti on ne yɛbɛhwɛ no yɛto aso no
they want to control the weather in 2025, and we're not talking about just seeding rain. In April, there are more than 150 modification programs. Since about 2000, the Northwest and the Department of Energy have been spraying the entire sky toxic group chemicals, other agents. Military in some countries have been fitted with huge barrels of at least kinds of documented chemical poison. Other documented toxic record saying
Sabi Wake Up Africa manipulation. See 20 by 2020. Weather manipulation 150,000 and almost say weather stars. Hold on. You know, and you say yeah, program. I'm just saying you know, a really I am meno eka ho asem. Na here climate change will have na mututu sane ma we nyina yesa adwuma. I don't know offer.
Yo go me that say na negative about the life forms to say a depopulation agenda a war for 18 and until Anna debates any George Soros tens of billions of dollars into senior toxic chemicals in dense areas. If the population agenda no next picture, the next picture trying to depopulate. Patamu fasa picture no into Somalia. Enoni depopulate because now who know countries now and the next
pilot brigade is carpet bombing cities with pilots testify. Professor Peter no into Somalia. Yeah. The video also. Pilot testified brigade is with chemtrails. What was I doing in mind?
The freakish and chemtrail patterns in the skies above major cities, regional centres. While those to convince the public that there's nothing to see here, these freakish geometric chemtrails do not fit into any and they have only begun appearing. What are they spraying into the sky? Who's doing it? Why are they? And what's their motives? What can we the people do? According to commercial pilots who've been investigating these questions, dark and disturbing. And the paper trail exposes the depopulation agenda of the global elite. Anybody paying attention to the world around them in recent times has noticed that outside the sun, once a large orange ball of fire, now appears whiter and smaller. Where clouds once erupted in beautiful natural shapes, including cirrus, cumulus, and nimbus formations, they now appear resembling the bars of a giant planet. Brave troopers of the wrath of the mainstream media keepers have been speaking about the phenomenon for years. Here is Prince in 2009 speaking about Dick Gregory and social engineering from the sky.
He said something that really hit home about this phenomena of chemtrails. And, you know, when I was a kid, I used to see these shells in the sky all the time. And so, oh, that's cool, a jet. And then you started to see a whole stuff. And next thing you know, everybody in your hood fighting and arguing, and you didn't know why. Okay? And you didn't know why. I mean, everybody was fighting.
Prince was always fearless and ahead of his time. In recent years, pilots and naval controllers have been coming forward to blow the whistle on the unnatural and dangerous chemtrail phenomenon.
Not the chemical, the contrails occur because of cold air, minus 30, high altitude, around 30,000 feet plus. There's carbon dioxide and water vapor in that exhaust. That turns to ice crystals, and that's what you see, the white stream behind it. Crystals of ice warm up, dissolve, and it never lasts more than a minute. What we're seeing now, and I first could not believe it, and I started looking at the skies, and these are not normal, they're not natural. Going on, I don't know who it is or why they're doing it. Justify, is it natural? It's not normal. It's got to be some outside influence doing that.
To give you testimony that chemtrails, they're not contrails, are indeed real. Almost every day, I watch the clouds and watch the spraying program going on. I want to tell you that we're in very great danger from the pollution that's coming over us. And military industrial complex is responsible for manipulation. They're dark. That's why they're not out in the media.
I look around and I see people are starting to look up and see this. Maybe I get this blank look on my face. What are you talking about?
When you look up at the sun,
he's not wrong about the aluminium, but what else is in the chemtrails? Richard Vobes interviewed 2 commercial pilots last week who've been conducting in-depth research into chemtrails after becoming disturbed by what was happening in the industry. To protect their anonymity, the 2 voices digitized the interview.
Yes, I can answer that, Sir Richards. So what there's all around Europe, we have had tests from the dust on roofs, and ISIS over the last 10 years. So they have been tested. If you go onto a website that I'll give you initially, it's geoengineering, or of confirming it on that website. So we have had many samples tested from various mass spectrometers, and the main constituents are barium, aluminium oxide. The first 2 are carcinogenic. Aluminium oxide promotes Alzheimer's disease amongst them, and there are various up to 2% uranium and graphene oxide, which we all know about. These tend to be elements in justification for it. Say, New World Order, etc., is to it's climate change or whatever they want to call it next week, and to everything. It is the depopulation program. It all leads back to that. It leads back to the World Health Organization. It leads back to WEF, the WEF at Davos, and the main players who are sponsoring this, Gates Foundation and various others. But this is in the Agenda 2030, is in the Agenda 2020. It's well documented in Hopkins University agendas. They are all publicly available. So it essentially does two things. It is to block the sun and to insidiously poison everything.
The elite's agenda to block the sun has turned this year, with pumping tens of millions of dollars into schemes to spray aerosols into the atmosphere to shield Earth from the life-giving. While thanks to it was forced to admit that governments do engage in modification in the form of cloud seeding. According to the chemtrail agenda is part of destroying life on Earth by blocking. And in particular are already experiencing the negative effects of the elite's anti-life agenda.
And yes, it's eating grass. We've been speaking to a lot of farmers. As I say, I'm from Belgium, and a lot of the farmers there are reporting problems with animals, particularly newborn animals such as lambs. And yes, it's starting to affect everything, and it is insidious. Your doctor, when you go to have something wrong, they have no idea where it's from.
While the sources of the funding source back to the usual suspects, including the Gates Soros Foundations and their colleagues at the WEF, pollute the planes and spray the toxic chemtrails on densely populated centers. And how much do these people know about what they're doing?
Depopulation agenda, agenda 21 no. So nti we ye ehuduhu asem bi keke of abetena ha oka na ne ade asefina ni kura ne se school se enya bi kosua na mkosua na o manam so e se obi nsusu pesika na opa abrabo abo na so nya sika no school ni akosua we na ye de ababe sa ne ma we se ye mfa nkum ye nuano over
last video no aye go show former CIA director Bernard or to officially say chemtrails no area or creating our Council of Foreign Relations. And what you know, Gregory's report yes, chemicals be war to no more. Yes, no back and no bet me Yamita Ubia or last video.
The last video no smart dust biosensors display Gregory's report.
For decades, those with eyes to see have been aware of chemtrails in our skies, and for decades we were called conspiracy theorists. While serving as director of the CIA, John Brennan admitted that chemtrails on foreign relations.
Another example is the array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering, potentially could help reverse the warming effects of global climate change. One that has gained my personal attention is or SAI, a stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat in much the same way that volcanic eruptions. In SAI increases, reducing some risks associated with higher temperatures, economy additional time to transition from fossil fuels. This process is also relatively. Research Council estimates that a fully deployed program would cost about $10 billion.
2007, it was announced that nano-sized particles, known as smart dust, can be dispersed over the battlefield via aerial spraying. The military has contracted several multinational corporations to develop sensors. Biosensors and smart dust can become something known as body dust, and spread inside the human body as an active network, capable to provide telemetry from inside the body for the use of monitoring humans. A patent for using polyethylene glycol derivatives as a way to modify the weather, the same substances used in the lipid nanoparticles. These polymers can be integrated with biosensors and soft robotics for smart materials, materials that can be modified by external stimuli. Soft robotics is a subfield of robotics that utilizes compliant materials rather than rigid ones, such as the hydrogels found in the experimental COVID shots. DuPont is manufacturing elastomers for fast-moving soft and developed fastest DEA-driven soft robots ever reported, designed for biosensing, interacting with biological entities on a cellular level. In her recent article, Smart Dust, Biosensors, Polymers for Geoengineering, and the Multinational Corporations that manufacture them, Dr. Anna Maria Mielchia points out that these are the transhumanist technologies that will be giving AI enormous amounts of data, as Bill Gates said, to understand 100 trillion organisms. She also points out the important fact that the elastomers being fabricated by DuPont for this soft robot technology are made of the exact same chemicals found when analyzing medicines, a compound that displays liquid crystal properties, found in targeted, and they appear to be the same compounds she found in the blood of the vaxxed as well as the blood of the unvaxxed, which appear to be the same structures used as part of electronic circuitry in self-assembly nanotechnology. Smart Dust is a system of tiny microelectromechanical systems that can detect light, temperature, vibration, magnetism, or chemicals. They are operated wirelessly on a computer network, can be used for medical or military surveillance purposes, and can be dispersed through the air via chemtrails, which would greatly be noticed by the sleeping masses who have met them. When combined with the Messagen soft robot technology, which has already been found in several blood samples of unwitting victims, they could create a means of monitoring and controlling the entire human population. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
Sabi Wake Up Africa dwumadie na wani guso a wohwe na last video no nipa na okasa first no kodo okasa first no CIA panyi pa say yakase Council on Foreign Relations sa platform no okasa so say woni platform ko a obehu nipa ban ya sa papa no oye na say sa papa na dia tum say ampa controls no aye kan wasem no no kra na ampa kire sampa say sa na controls no kra no anya chemicals ni say yedi say no bias say natural things ni ama yare o omo san de niema shemu a aye esan monitor yen a ni nyina no yedwumadi a omo fasa chemtrails su a omo gusu ye enti yedi niema ye se efa nduro mo ewowa ekohwe na monitor onipadua ni ade no omo san de bi so aguwiem che say babia no nkofo no omo ye adwuma no yanko fa ho na onfa na ndi seme twafo fa
the manu besi free na echo so we are advocate of climate change suka if say be any wha if no climate change rather no manipulation of the weather and no weather ye sorry ni nyina no abe contaminated by the powers that be ntiene no you need natural weather pattern be our assassin climate change a hoax
of I that say we the be not to obekasa any na no hunu ase okasa keke and then proofs ahoro any research is ahoro a akosopa edi adanse se eno na ofagina so a ene odi edi adanse no the virtual visitation way announcement mu maso emra eye oti region eye me can say freedom mind movement eye national council edi juma bi a me matu din say mentorship Africa ha ye ni mentor eye youth no your problem ke se pa ye say ye nya mentors on be mentor yen na no e na o ya poku dankwa ehu sa de we ya nti watete empanyifo bi man de no o se ene de fa sa mentorship no enko nti omo ye no region by region no ni ye seminar you mentor na we know you dealing with finance how we betimi anya financial freedom no any jumadi a ekoso na we know mo ko sa say we ti region eye meminda e wo ya nimi ya meminda eye meminda ya e wo ya nimi no eye sekan gbani no ye baglo boom in just sekan municipality time 10 a.m. sharp pepena na dey we asase na wo hia ntirimu bi offer 0241 558136 0241 55838136 offer nsembia wo bia no obenya no ani ye fi what so on the 16 na koforidua fo mo bobo ho na bia na koforidua so eye open to bia mind movement members na so koforidua oda ya ba no koforidua na so dan fo ka ho so many for ka ho tafo eko enyina bunsu kofodia eastern region fo nyina no be kofodia date no 16th of this month and this year number if you have information you abetimi afre no 0244 91044 549107 if I talk kofodia mpany information Jumadi into me and Cosmover. Pato Mofbano and to Sumaya na affair into me and fry and from Bremna, Yaniomo, Arana Dijume, now Chibiara. Now be am fan some embra. Yakin kind messages no. Ohene, they have done kidney transplant from a GMO pig to a human. Hello, therefore, good afternoon, sir. Some to ja udi some to ja
bidin ni na ba
okay
so fi akotia
yo yankwai
yamu obadi ACC ni hinta sama modern di area chairman sai ni ani pen da hoda ni pen unia obaye asante so ani ma wi ni ba hifa na nipa adotna na mi bisa se to say the wo yengana hai na wo se plane CV tube na sa gas CD three almost fixing Ghana hai na say almost fixing abroche be na abato ya Dadia much we fixing that but that you want to use a plane the complete editors this almost share Ghana ha wo me nu that almost share our that almost share na mo na I don't dey empty for place on yes, more than my wife. I mean, just you,
yeah, that's it. I don't quite be a spirit, no money in the bank. No, dear, what you are fun or fat to say, and near man near him to be on a now their brain will be any man for any, and you know, yeah, no, and young penny for Ghana, I am penny for Donna, any at the bank. Na minim say we need to do na abuche na omo hye Ghana aye plane bi na ye nkwa him fa na yes ani mai omo hye na omo de aba be fa na omo de spray na omo come baby okay I say human GMO pig man then what else they cannot do. I am Kingdom from Akim Akroso Amanfrom. Hello we didn't talk about baby yeah, also, we didn't talk about free. Not for one. But if you have just a few offenses, what the big guy say, Look for the better would you say? Yo,
Ebe pa no madwe mbone na. Ubese ewia so ebeto mabem. Ebe fo wase pa se le la ni ka e so fa onye mi po so abefo. Before ni. Tiasi de yentie no se na ebe ya. Uso be nyam no fo no. Ni na boni o ma sha fa ye before no ho. Yantwe ya wufo mu eni ma bone no ho. Na mi sure fa pa ni na ma shi.
Yo, ofa tiri nyina o kwase obisa ni se then Obroni Pewe, afternoon, please. What is the purpose depopulation? Why are they doing this? I'm Daniel. Insa Ura. Okay, yo. I know the hello, Rini Papa Pefi. Hello, Rini Papa Pefi. What is What is come to ja? But on the volume, the father still on the Catholic level. No, volume, no name Casa, Casa Yeti, one. I planning about to try the mother. Maybe I share who get red wine. Entire bonus or my gun for the show. Not you. Not the where my number. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. My name is Offa. My name is Offa Poku from Kwau Asankra. Keep it up. Yeah, bless you all. Okay, yo, yeah, that's it. Good afternoon, sir. Good evening, Papa. Now, sir. Okay, what is them? The program now, you know, the highlight in summer, and some comments and some also like the program. YouTube Africa Sabeka na wahehe live program ohe ko live ebeba na wahehe. Please Mr. Kumi, hello, ni Papa Afrefi. Hello, me bacho tuja da ofa abia efapukupa kukuya buchi kubizo akayenka ayinfini from crap no so akoya Ghana abi before ya me aduna yo mede ifi ya danasi onko so no mu yani so ono so eda wase my name is Ojuba from Kiti Bombo. Great job, thank you all. Question: what outcome of their aim to the world, and who believe in Christ's second coming same way. Okay, yo ebusia sabri aha na brebe ma yakwan emedi ni nyina aba na wiye mo fa nche yen se ene me no antumi ama yakwan ma mo messages no mo de aba pa na so bre ni nti next week ye be mo de akenkan mo de ya na mo de aba ye be de me de amamo ene asema ye bo no land grabbing na nanumu ene ofade ye wuwe mu climate change ni nyina no sa land grabbing climate change na eba ye nyina no so mo de be grabbing land o mo de be je ye nsase ni nyina no ye trimopo susu ye bone a mo ba che so mo de enu hunu ayen de ye no dada ye be ya no ye be di atom abanya me di juma Poku Dankwa executive director edema equal FN freedom mind movement ena de ne ba Israel Nkroma bibinti akodi baabi a jumadie sonko na kopie baabi a wodi oson fokofi kome me na metere gwam abo ade dom yen na se odeten a da se ne e be sen hia makrawo